The sun dipped low over the Portland skyline, casting a warm glow that filtered through the trees lining the street. I stood by the window, watching the familiar scene of our suburban neighborhood unfold. Children rode bikes, and neighbors chatted about weekend plans. Yet, behind this picturesque setting, a sense of restlessness brewed within me. Years had passed since my stepson left for college, and now he was returning home as a man, a thought that both excited and unnerved me. My husband was settled into his routine as usual, his evening ritual of pouring himself a glass of whiskey while flipping through channels on television. He barely acknowledged my presence, lost in the world of sports commentary and reruns. The indifference had become a comfortable blanket over our marriage, stifling yet familiar. I often wondered if he even noticed how much time had slipped away from us both. The doorbell rang sharply, breaking my reverie. My heart raced as I moved to answer it. When I opened the door, there stood my stepson, taller and more confident than I remembered. His smile lit up his face as he stepped inside, bringing with him an air of youthful energy that felt foreign in our home. "Hey. It's good to see you," he said, his voice deepening with age. I managed a smile in return but felt an unexpected flutter in my chest. How could someone who had once been a boy now possess such an undeniable allure? I brushed off the feeling as mere surprise at his transformation, a fleeting moment that I assumed would pass. As we settled into conversation in the living room, I noticed how he carried himself differently now, more self-assured and grounded in his own skin. The casual banter flowed easily between us at first. We exchanged stories about college life and shared memories of family vacations from years past. Yet beneath those surface-level exchanges lay an undercurrent of something unspoken. "I've missed this place," he said after a pause, glancing around as if taking inventory of his childhood memories. "Me too," I replied softly. "It feels different without you around." He nodded slowly, his gaze lingering on me longer than necessary. An electric tension hung between us, palpable yet confusing. My heart raced again when our eyes met. There was an intensity there that sent shivers down my spine. Dinner came and went with my husband still oblivious to the shift occurring within our home. As we sat at the table together, a family reunited but somehow altered, I couldn't shake off the awareness of my stepson's presence beside me. He reached for a roll just as I did, our hands brushed against each other briefly but enough to ignite something unexpected within me. Later that evening, after dinner had been cleared away and my husband retired to watch another game on TV, I found myself alone with him again in the kitchen while washing dishes. The mundane task felt charged with unspoken words and hidden glances. "Can you believe how much things have changed?" he asked casually as he leaned against the counter beside me. I looked up from scrubbing a plate to meet his gaze again. It was searching and intense. "Yeah, it's hard to keep up sometimes," I replied carefully. In that moment, something shifted between us. It was more than mere nostalgia or familial affection, it was an attraction that felt both thrilling and terrifying at once. A part of me wanted to deny it entirely while another part craved to explore it further. As night fell over Portland and shadows danced across our kitchen walls, I felt drawn closer to him despite knowing all too well how wrong it could be. The weight of my marriage loomed large behind me like an anchor holding me back from venturing into uncharted waters. He stepped closer then, just inches apart, and whispered something about how much he admired me growing up. It sent warmth flooding through my veins like fire igniting kindling wood. My breath caught in my throat as I fought against every instinct urging caution. But before anything could happen, a word left unsaid or a gesture unmade, my husband called from the living room, "Everything okay in there?" The spell shattered instantly, reality crashed back down around us like waves against rocks on a stormy shore. We exchanged quick glances filled with uncertainty before stepping back into our respective roles, mother and son entangled in complexities neither could fully comprehend yet. As sleep enveloped our home later that night, unease settled deep within me like stones weighing down on fragile glass. a reminder that boundaries existed for reasons far beyond mere societal expectations or family ties. My heart raced again as thoughts spiraled out of control. What did this mean for us? Could anything ever come from this attraction without tearing apart everything built over years? In those quiet moments before drifting off into restless sleep filled with dreams tinged by confusion and guilt, I knew one thing for certain. Nothing would ever be quite the same again after tonight's unexpected reunion had pulled back layers long hidden beneath silence and routine. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, my husband's unwavering presence alongside an undeniable spark igniting between two people bound by complicated ties, but for now, all I could do was brace myself for what lay ahead on this precarious path we'd begun to tread together, unwittingly yet irresistibly entwined in ways neither could understand fully just yet. The sun rose over Portland, casting a warm glow through the kitchen window as I brewed coffee. The aroma filled the house, a comforting routine that contrasted sharply with the turmoil swirling in my mind. My husband moved about, oblivious to the storm brewing within me. He hummed to himself while preparing his breakfast, a mundane melody that underscored the dissonance of my feelings. As I poured the steaming coffee into 2 mugs, I caught sight of my reflection in the window. Lines etched on my face told stories of years spent in a marriage that had become predictable, almost stale. I glanced at my husband, who was engrossed in his newspaper, and felt a pang of guilt mixed with longing. The thought of my stepson lingered just beneath the surface, an uninvited guest in my thoughts. Later that day, we attended the local festival, a vibrant celebration filled with laughter and music. The streets were alive with people enjoying food from various trucks and browsing local art stalls. My husband chatted amiably with friends while I wandered through the crowd, searching for something to distract me from my inner conflict. Amidst the colorful booths and enthusiastic chatter, I spotted him standing by a stall selling handmade jewelry. He looked different, more mature and self-assured than I remembered. Our eyes met for a brief moment before he turned back to examine an intricate necklace. A flutter raced through me as memories of our shared moments resurfaced. "Hey," he said casually as I approached him. "Hi," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the rush of emotions swirling inside me. We spoke about trivial things, art pieces we liked and our favorite food at the festival, but beneath our light conversation lay an undercurrent of tension. Laughter bubbled up between us as we reminisced about old family gatherings, each shared memory drawing us closer together. In a moment of spontaneity, he suggested we try one of the food trucks together. "Come on. You have to try this taco truck, it's legendary." I hesitated but then nodded. "Okay." As we stood in line waiting for our order, he leaned closer to speak over the crowd noise. "It's good to see you again after all this time." "It really is," I replied softly, feeling warmth spread through me at his words. After grabbing our tacos and finding a quiet corner to sit down, we continued to share stories from our lives since he left for college years ago. Laughter flowed freely between us. It felt like old times yet different somehow, charged with an unspoken energy that made my heart race. "Remember that time at the beach?" he asked with a grin. "How could I forget? You buried your dad in sand." We both laughed heartily at the memory until it faded into comfortable silence punctuated only by bites of food and occasional glances exchanged between us. At some point during our conversation, something shifted in the air around us, a palpable tension that hung heavy like humidity before a storm. It was unexpected yet familiar. Something deep within me stirred awake as he leaned closer again to share another story. In that fleeting moment where time seemed suspended between us, when laughter faded into silence, our eyes locked once more. An inexplicable urge surged within me, before rational thought could intervene or remind me of boundaries that shouldn't be crossed. I leaned forward too. We kissed. The world around us blurred away. Nothing else existed except for this singular moment where everything felt right yet utterly wrong all at once. It was soft yet electrifying, a collision of past affection mingled with newfound desire, and when it ended just as quickly as it began, reality crashed back down around us like waves against rocks. "What just happened?" he murmured breathlessly after pulling away slightly, the color rising in his cheeks mirroring my own embarrassment mixed with exhilaration. "I don't know," I stammered while struggling to regain composure amidst chaos swirling inside me now louder than ever before. A cacophony demanding attention but also evoking fear about what lay ahead if we pursued this path further down its winding road filled with uncertainty ahead. The rest of our day passed in an awkward haze. Laughter felt forced now whenever it escaped our lips while shadows loomed large overhead reminding us both how precarious this situation had become since crossing an invisible line neither had intended on breaching until now. Returning home later that evening felt surreal. Every creak of floorboards echoed louder than usual against silence wrapping around us like heavy fog cloaking familiar surroundings turned foreign overnight due solely because choices made earlier today threatened everything once deemed secure within these walls built upon trust forged over years spent together navigating life's complexities side by side without question until now. My husband greeted me warmly when I walked through front door, the same routine greeting performed countless times before. But tonight it held weight far heavier than usual given circumstances surrounding recent events weighing heavily upon conscience gnawing away at sense of normalcy established long ago between us both despite knowing deep down something had shifted irrevocably, beyond repair if left unchecked any longer. I forced myself through small talk while preparing dinner, trying desperately not let thoughts wander back towards moments shared earlier today which lingered stubbornly like ghosts refusing fade away completely even amidst mundane tasks requiring focus elsewhere entirely instead. But every glance cast toward kitchen window revealed flickering memories replaying endlessly behind eyelids closed tight against reality pressing close around heart racing faster than ever before threatening spillover into chaos if allowed escape completely unchecked any longer. Later that night as exhaustion settled into bones worn thin after long days spent juggling conflicting emotions alongside responsibilities expected from wife, a role played dutifully without question until now, I found myself lying awake staring up at ceiling lost within labyrinthine corridors winding deeper inside mind refusing yield ground easily despite fatigue creeping ever closer threatening pull under once more into restful oblivion where dreams awaited, beckoning softly inviting escape from turmoil raging outside confines created around self built upon years familiarity slowly crumbling beneath weight desires long buried deep beneath surface waiting patiently for chance emerge finally. But sleep eluded me entirely tonight, the kiss replaying endlessly on loop within thoughts refusing quiet down even when body begged otherwise. Until finally surrendering fully letting exhaustion take hold drifting off into restless slumber filled only visions dancing across backdrop painted vividly shades gray tinged regret intertwining beautifully bright hues hope lingering still somewhere hidden deep. Underneath layers conflict longing remain unresolved forevermore unless faced head-on sooner rather than later. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting soft shadows across the room. I lay there, tangled in sheets, my heart racing as memories of the previous night replayed in vivid detail. The warmth of his lips lingered on mine, igniting a fire I thought had long been extinguished. Our lips met again, and I could hardly breathe for the weight of what that meant. As I sat up slowly, the house was still quiet. My husband had already left for work, leaving me alone with my thoughts. The emptiness echoed around me, amplifying the turmoil swirling within. Guilt clawed at my insides like a wild animal desperate to escape its cage. How had I let this happen? I glanced at the clock on the wall. It was still early enough that I could pretend this was just a fleeting moment, a mistake to be brushed aside. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. The connection we shared felt electric and terrifying all at once. The day dragged on in a haze of chores and mundane tasks. I busied myself with laundry and dishes, but my mind wandered to him, his laughter, his smile, and that kiss that had sent shivers down my spine. Each thought brought a rush of warmth followed by an icy wave of guilt. How could I reconcile these feelings with my life? Later in the afternoon, while sorting through old boxes in the attic, I stumbled upon a collection of photographs from years past, snapshots of family gatherings filled with laughter and love. As I flipped through them, nostalgia washed over me like a gentle tide. There he was as a boy, wide-eyed and innocent, before life had complicated everything for us both. But then there were recent photos too, of him as a man, confident and handsome. Each image stirred something deep within me, memories clashed with desires previously unacknowledged. The boy who once looked up to me now stood tall beside me as an equal in ways I never anticipated. I caught myself smiling at one particular photo where he wore that goofy grin while holding up a fish he'd caught during summer camp years ago. In that moment captured on film, he was carefree and full of potential, a stark contrast to how complicated our lives had become now. As dusk settled outside, shadows danced along the walls of our home, a home once filled with joy but now weighed down by secrets and unspoken truths. My heart raced again as thoughts turned back to him, the man who had ignited something inside me I thought impossible. That evening brought another chance encounter when he stopped by unexpectedly after dinner. My heart skipped as he walked through the door. There was an energy between us that felt palpable yet dangerous. We exchanged casual pleasantries while avoiding eye contact too long lest we give away our hidden emotions. "Just wanted to see how you were doing," he said lightly, leaning against the kitchen counter as if it were an ordinary visit between family members. "I'm fine," I replied too quickly, my voice betraying me with its tremor. He stepped closer then, a subtle shift that sent butterflies fluttering wildly in my stomach. "Really? Just fine?" Before I could respond or even think clearly about what might happen next, he reached out to touch my arm gently, a simple gesture loaded with meaning that sent shockwaves through my body. In that moment, all rational thought evaporated, desire surged forward like an unstoppable tide threatening to drown out every ounce of reason left within me. Our lips met again, the kiss igniting flames deep inside me once more, as if time itself stood still around us, enveloping us in our own world where nothing else existed but this connection we shared. When we finally pulled away breathless and wide-eyed from what we'd done yet again, the weight of reality crashed back down upon us like an icy wave breaking against rocky shores. "What are we doing?" I whispered softly into the charged silence between us. "I don't know," he admitted quietly, his expression mirroring my own confusion and fear. We stood frozen in place for what felt like eternity until finally breaking apart reluctantly, both knowing we had crossed another line neither of us could uncross easily now. After he left that evening filled with uncertainty lingering thickly in air around me, I found myself staring blankly into space, trying desperately to process everything unfolding around us while grappling with feelings threatening to consume every part of who I thought I was before all this began. Days passed uneasily afterward, each one marked by tension hanging heavy over our interactions like storm clouds ready to unleash their fury at any moment without warning or mercy, manifesting through stolen glances laden with longing mixed alongside guilt simmering just beneath surface, refusing remain hidden forevermore. Then came another chance encounter when rummaging through old boxes again yielded something unexpected, letters exchanged between him and his mother from years ago tucked away among forgotten trinkets, a glimpse into moments lost but not forgotten entirely. Reading them sparked memories long buried. Moments filled joy interspersed alongside pain woven throughout their narratives, reminding me how fragile connections can be even within families bound together by blood alone yet torn apart by choices made along way leading here now. Guilt washed over me anew as realization dawned. Each choice carried weight far beyond immediate consequences, rippling outward affecting everyone involved whether intended or not. I couldn't shake feeling trapped within this cycle repeating endlessly unless faced directly head-on sooner rather than later before it consumed everything already built upon shaky foundations, threatening collapse under pressure mounting steadily each passing day. And yet despite turmoil raging inside, I found myself yearning for those moments spent together amidst chaos swirling around us, both intertwining beautifully, creating something new emerging from ashes left behind. But would it be enough? Could anything ever truly replace what once existed before? Or would these newfound desires ultimately lead only toward destruction, leaving nothing but heartbreak behind? The questions haunted every waking hour until finally one fateful evening arrived when fate intervened unexpectedly, shattering fragile facade built carefully over time, threatening expose raw truth lurking beneath surface, waiting patiently reveal itself fully, whether ready or not. The evening air was thick with tension, a palpable weight pressing down on my chest. I stared out the window, watching the shadows lengthen across the yard as dusk settled in. The distant sounds of laughter from neighbors mingled with the rustling leaves. It all felt so normal, yet everything within me was anything but. The recent kiss lingered in my mind, a reckless moment that had shifted everything. I had never anticipated how much one impulsive act could unravel the fabric of my life. I knew I needed to confront my feelings, but fear held me back. I glanced at my phone, half expecting it to buzz with a message that would pull me back into that chaotic whirlpool of emotions. Then came the phone call, an urgent voice on the other end. A family emergency involving my mother. My heart raced as I processed the news. She had fallen and needed assistance. My husband was already on his way to help her. He insisted I stay home for a few hours to manage things here. But with him gone, an unsettling freedom washed over me. The house felt both empty and full of possibilities at once. My mind raced through every scenario of what could happen next. The doorbell chimed, breaking my reverie. He stood there, looking more like a man than ever before. His presence filled the space around us with an electric charge that made it hard to breathe. We exchanged glances that spoke volumes. Unspoken desires hung heavily in the air between us. "Can we talk?" he asked softly, stepping inside as if he belonged there. I nodded, leading him to the living room where we could speak without interruption. The walls seemed to close in around us as we sat together on the couch, a familiar yet foreign territory now tinged with uncertainty. "I heard about your mom," he said quietly, his gaze steady and sincere. "Yeah," I replied, trying to sound casual despite the turmoil inside me. "She'll be okay." A silence stretched between us, thick with unacknowledged feelings and unresolved tension. Finally, he broke it. "I've been thinking about us." The words hung there like an uninvited guest at a party, awkward yet unavoidable. "What about us?" My heart pounded in my chest as I leaned forward slightly, drawn in against my better judgment. "I don't want this to just be some fling," he said earnestly. "But it feels like there's something real here." I swallowed hard, his honesty both thrilled and terrified me. The idea of something deeper sent conflicting waves through me. Wasn't this supposed to be just physical? Yet here we were discussing feelings as if they mattered more than mere attraction. "I can't promise anything," I said finally, needing him to understand the stakes involved. "I know," he replied softly, reaching for my hand and intertwining our fingers, a gesture that ignited something deep within me. In that moment of connection, everything else faded away, the worry about being caught by my husband, the guilt gnawing at me like a relentless tide pulling me under. All that existed was this bond forming between us, raw and unfiltered. Then came another wave of panic as reality crashed back in. What if this led to something irreversible? Just then, another thought struck. What would happen if we spent more time together? Could we handle it? As if reading my mind, he whispered gently, "Let's not think about tomorrow right now." And suddenly it didn't matter anymore. The world outside ceased to exist when he leaned closer and brushed his lips against mine again in a tentative kiss that ignited every nerve ending in my body. What started as an innocent conversation quickly spiraled into something far more dangerous than either of us intended. We spent the night together, wrapped up in each other's warmth as dawn broke outside our window, a forbidden sanctuary away from reality where nothing else mattered but this moment shared between two souls desperately seeking solace from their lives. Morning light streamed through thin curtains when I woke up alone on the couch. Panic surged through me as memories flooded back. The urgency of our connection clashed violently against guilt and fear simmering beneath its surface. My heart raced while searching for him. Every corner felt empty without his presence beside me until finally finding him outside on the porch leaning against railing, lost deep in thought while gazing out into distance beyond our suburban neighborhood filled with familiar sights now tinged with complexity beyond comprehension. "Hey," I murmured softly, stepping closer, hoping not to startle him from whatever reverie held sway over his mind right now, wondering if this fleeting moment would shatter into pieces once real life intruded upon our fragile bubble created overnight amidst chaos surrounding us both lately. He turned towards me, slowly revealing those eyes filled not only with warmth but also uncertainty, reflecting same questions swirling around inside head, creating whirlwind threatening pull apart all threads connecting us together, forming delicate tapestry woven through shared experiences since childhood leading up until point where lines blurred, crossing boundaries set long ago. "Last night," he began hesitantly, trailing off, unsure how best express thoughts racing behind those expressive eyes, searching mine for answers, perhaps seeking reassurance about choices made under influence, passion ignited unexpectedly after years apart, discovering new facets hidden beneath surface, waiting patiently reveal themselves fully even when least expected. "Let's just take it one step at a time," I suggested quietly, feeling both exhilarated yet terrified by implications behind those words spoken aloud, breaking silence, enveloping two souls caught between past, present, future, longing desperately find balance amidst turmoil threatening overwhelm. Everything built thus far while navigating treacherous waters ahead filled uncertainty lurking just beneath surface, waiting strike without warning, leaving nothing behind except wreckage, shattered dreams, hopes, aspirations lost forever, time slipping away, grasp slipping through fingers like grains, sand falling, hourglass marking passage, moments fleeting, existence lived fully, embracing joy, pain alike. But how long could we maintain such precarious balance? How long before truth clawed its way back into light, demanding acknowledgement, forcing decisions upon us both, leaving no room escape, consequences looming ever closer, threatening unravel everything built thus far? Just then sound echoed through house, cutting sharply across thoughts, spiraling downward, pulling focus back toward reality, awaiting return, husband soon enough, disrupting fragile peace settled over hearts yearning desperately, cling tightly against odds stacked high against happiness found amidst chaos surrounding lives intertwined forevermore. The door creaked as he stepped into the living room, his presence filling the space with a tension I couldn't ignore. My heart raced, a familiar pulse of excitement mixed with dread. The late evening light filtered through the curtains, casting shadows that seemed to dance around us, reflecting the chaos within my mind. I glanced at my phone, anxiety tightening my chest. The accidental text lingered like a ghost between us, a reminder of boundaries crossed. "Is everything okay?" he asked, his tone casual but laced with an undertone that suggested he felt the shift in our dynamic too. I nodded, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask than genuine warmth. "Just thinking about dinner." The words tasted bitter on my tongue. Dinner was the last thing on my mind. He moved closer, and I could see the man he had become over the years, confident and self-assured. Memories flooded back. The boy who once stumbled through life now stood before me with an air of maturity that both thrilled and terrified me. I had watched him grow from afar, but now here we were, tangled in this web of unspoken desires. "You've been distant lately," he said softly, his eyes searching mine for answers I was reluctant to provide. I brushed off his concern with a wave of my hand. "Just busy with everything." The lie hung heavily in the air between us. As if sensing my evasion, he stepped back slightly, creating space that felt both necessary and painful. "You know you can talk to me about anything." The sincerity in his voice made me ache, a reminder of what we were risking. But how could I explain this turmoil? How could I articulate feelings that defied logic? Instead of answering him, I turned away toward the window, watching as shadows lengthened outside. The sound of footsteps broke through my reverie. My husband's voice echoed from the hallway as he entered the house, unaware of the storm brewing just beyond his reach. "Hey! What's for dinner?" he called out cheerfully. My stomach twisted at his casual tone. It felt like a betrayal to even acknowledge him while standing next to the source of my confusion. I forced myself to respond with enthusiasm I didn't feel. "Just some pasta." He appeared in the doorway moments later, smiling broadly as if nothing was amiss. But there was an edge to his expression, a flicker of suspicion that sent chills down my spine. "Did you two have a good chat?" he asked innocently enough, but there was an underlying question lingering beneath his words. "Yeah," I replied quickly, glancing at him then back at my stepson who stood silently beside me. He looked just as uneasy as I felt. "Good," my husband said before moving toward the kitchen without another thought. In that momentary distraction, we exchanged glances filled with unspoken understanding, a silent acknowledgement of our shared secret that hung heavily between us like an invisible thread binding our fates together while threatening to unravel everything else. After dinner had been served and consumed under layers of small talk and forced laughter, I excused myself under the pretense of needing fresh air outside on our porch, a desperate attempt to breathe amidst suffocating tension inside. Once outside, I leaned against the railing and closed my eyes for a moment. Cool night air brushed against my skin soothingly yet invigoratingly at once while stars twinkled overhead like distant promises yet unfulfilled dreams waiting patiently for their time to shine. Footsteps approached behind me softly. He had followed me outside without making noise but now stood close enough for me to feel warmth radiating from him even without touching. "Are you okay?" His voice was low and steady. It wrapped around me like a blanket offering comfort while igniting something deep within, a dangerous spark threatening to ignite into flames if not controlled swiftly enough. "I just need some space," I murmured even though every part of me longed for him closer still, to bridge this gap between us born from confusion and desire alike, but logic fought fiercely against instinct urging caution instead. "Space?" he echoed incredulously. There was something almost wounded in his tone which tugged at strings inside me making it harder each second not to reach out, just touch. To bridge this chasm built upon years lost yet found again unexpectedly now creating turmoil where tranquility once reigned supreme before everything changed irrevocably forevermore. Before either one could speak again further though silence enveloped us until finally shattered by sudden vibrations emanating from within pocket. My phone lighting up signaling incoming message demanding attention immediately despite urgency flooding through veins urging otherwise instead. I hesitated briefly before pulling it out only to find familiar name staring back boldly across screen tauntingly reminding consequences looming ever closer threatening unravel everything built thus far. And then panic set in when realization dawned upon seeing contents displayed clearly. "Where are you? You've been gone too long." My husband's words cut sharply through night air slicing through fragile peace settled over hearts yearning desperately cling tightly against odds stacked high against happiness found amidst chaos surrounding lives intertwined forevermore. "What's wrong?" His voice broke through haze clouding thoughts swirling wildly inside head filled with dread imagining fallout awaiting should truth come crashing down upon us without warning leaving nothing but wreckage behind. I turned slowly meeting gaze filled with concern mingled apprehension reflected back toward me mirroring emotions swirling within heart racing faster than ever before unable escape consequences closing in rapidly threatening destroy all hope built up thus far, leaving nothing but emptiness behind should decisions made lead down paths unknown forevermore. The laughter and chatter of family filled the air, drowning out the storm brewing inside me. My husband had insisted on hosting a gathering to celebrate his recent promotion, inviting friends and relatives who filled our home with warmth. Yet, beneath the surface, an icy tension gripped my heart. The atmosphere seemed to pulse with unspoken truths, each smile hiding a fracture waiting to be revealed. I stood in the kitchen, stirring a pot of chili while trying to focus on the task at hand. The aroma wafted through the house, but it did little to quell the turmoil within. I glanced out the window toward the backyard where my stepson engaged in conversation with some family members. He looked so different now, confident and assured, qualities that had flourished during his time away. A pang of guilt twisted in my stomach as I recalled our moments together, those fleeting encounters that had ignited a fire I never expected to feel. "Everything okay?" My husband's voice cut through my thoughts again as he leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed over his chest. His gaze was steady but edged with concern. "Just thinking about dinner," I replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask than genuine joy. "It should be ready soon." He nodded but lingered, clearly sensing something amiss. I turned back to the stove, stirring more vigorously than necessary as if it could distract him from probing deeper into my mind. As guests began to fill our home, I felt myself slipping further away from reality. Conversations buzzed around me like bees in summer. Everyone seemed oblivious to the weight pressing down on my shoulders. I tried engaging with old friends while keeping one eye on my stepson across the room. His laughter rang out like music, a sound that both thrilled and terrified me. Then came an unexpected moment that shifted everything. My stepson approached me as I handed out bowls of chile, his expression unreadable yet intense. "Hey," he said softly, leaning closer than necessary for casual conversation. "Hi," I managed to reply, heart racing at his proximity. "I've been thinking about what happened between us." The words hung in the air like an uninvited guest crashing a party. I swallowed hard, suddenly aware of all eyes in the room drifting toward us, friends and family caught up in their own worlds yet somehow aware of this charged moment unfolding before them. "We shouldn't talk about that here," I whispered urgently, glancing around nervously. He nodded slowly but didn't step back. Instead, he leaned closer still as if drawn by an invisible force neither of us could resist. "I can't help it," he murmured. "It's hard not to think about it." The heat radiating from him sent shivers down my spine despite myself. Memories flooded back, the thrill of stolen kisses and whispered secrets shared under cover of night when no one else was watching. Just then, laughter erupted from another part of the house, a distraction breaking our moment before it could deepen further into something dangerous and irreversible. "Let's get back to everyone," I suggested hastily while stepping away from him as if pulling away from an electric current threatening to consume us both. The evening wore on with forced smiles and polite conversations masking what lay beneath, a fragile facade crumbling under pressure. My husband remained oblivious while I felt myself spiraling deeper into uncertainty about everything I had built over years together with him. As guests began leaving one by one after dessert, full bellies and happy hearts, I felt relief mixed with dread settle heavily upon me like a storm cloud threatening rain at any moment. Finally alone again in our empty house after all had departed except for my husband who was busy cleaning up after dinner, I couldn't shake off feeling trapped within these walls filled with memories tainted by secrets unspoken yet palpable enough they hung thickly in the air around us like fog rolling off nearby rivers during early mornings. "What's going on with you tonight?" he asked, suddenly breaking through silence as he stacked dishes into the sink without looking up from his task at hand. I hesitated before answering. Honesty felt too risky now when everything hinged precariously upon fragile threads woven throughout this life we'd built together over years filled mostly with routine comfort rather than passion or excitement anymore, except for those fleeting moments when desire sparked unexpectedly between us or perhaps even ignited anew somewhere outside our marriage entirely. "Just tired," was all I managed, finally offering up a half-hearted excuse hoping it would suffice without raising further questions or suspicions lingering beneath surface tension threatening to bubble over any second now. But then came another twist. A sudden ping echoed through silence followed by vibrations against fabric where my phone lay hidden deep inside pocket of jeans snug against skin beneath layers worn for warmth against crisp autumn evening chill settling outside beyond windows surrounding us both. My heart dropped when realization struck. It wasn't just any notification, it was from him, the very person who'd turned everything upside down since returning home after years spent apart. "Who is it?" my husband asked, casually glancing over toward me, now finally breaking focus away from dishes stacked neatly before him ready for washing later once things quieted down completely around us. "I don't know," came my instinctive response, even though truth lingered just beneath surface, waiting patiently for opportunity arise, revealing itself without warning, catching me off guard once again. But then another ping sounded, louder this time, drawing attention directly toward device resting silently within reach, beckoning answers needed desperately yet feared deeply all at once. With trembling fingers shaking slightly against fabric lining pocket where phone waited patiently, I hesitated longer than necessary, debating whether or not should reveal anything further, risking exposure, perhaps leading down paths unknown forevermore. Finally surrendering reluctantly, pulling phone free, revealing screen lit up brightly, displaying name attached alongside message sent mere moments earlier. "Can we talk?" Panic surged through veins, coursing wildly, racing toward heart, pounding furiously, echoing loudly within chest, feeling heavy burden pressing down upon shoulders, dragging further into depths, darkness looming ahead, threatening swallow whole everything ever known, leaving nothing behind but emptiness, echoing silence stretching endlessly beyond reach. "What is it?" His voice broke through haze, clouding thoughts swirling wildly inside, head filled with dread, imagining fallout awaiting should truth come crashing down upon us without warning, leaving nothing but wreckage behind. The air hung thick with tension, each breath a reminder of the choices I had made. My heart raced, a constant drum echoing in my ears as I stood frozen in place. The weight of my husband's gaze felt like a heavy shroud, suffocating and relentless. He was waiting for an answer, but what could I say? "Nothing," I managed to whisper, the word barely escaping my lips. It felt inadequate, a flimsy shield against the storm brewing between us. I turned slightly, catching a glimpse of my stepson standing at the edge of the room, uncertainty etched across his face. His presence stirred conflicting emotions within me, desire intertwined with guilt. "What do you mean, nothing?" my husband pressed, his voice rising slightly. "You've been acting strange for weeks." I could only nod, feeling trapped in a web of my own making. The truth loomed large and menacing, like a dark cloud ready to burst open. I swallowed hard, fighting back tears that threatened to spill over. "Let's just talk about this later," I said, hoping to diffuse the situation without further escalation. But deep down, I knew that postponing would only prolong the inevitable confrontation. My stepson shifted uncomfortably, glancing between us as if caught in an emotional crossfire. "Maybe we should all sit down together," he suggested gently, though his voice trembled slightly. "No," my husband snapped, frustration boiling over. "I want to know what's going on right now." I felt my pulse quicken as panic surged again. The walls seemed to close in around me. Every corner of our home now felt like a prison filled with secrets and lies. "I'm just tired," I said finally, trying to sound convincing even as doubt crept into my tone. "Tired? You've been more than tired." He stepped closer, eyes narrowing as he searched mine for answers that weren't there. A part of me wanted to scream, to confess everything and let the chips fall where they may, but fear held me back. The risk was too great, it could unravel everything I had built over the years. "I'll be fine," I replied weakly. "Just give me some space." As soon as the words left my mouth, regret washed over me like a cold wave crashing against the shore. My husband's expression hardened. He turned away from me and walked toward the kitchen without another word. I could feel my stepson's eyes on me, as if he were silently weighing his options too. In that moment of shared understanding, something shifted between us, an unspoken acknowledgement of our complicated bond. "You okay?" he asked softly once we were alone again. I nodded slowly but knew it was a lie. "Just figuring things out." "Figuring what out?" His brow furrowed with concern that cut deeper than any accusation could have. The question hung heavy in the air between us. My heart raced at the thought of revealing even a fraction of what lay beneath the surface. Instead of answering him directly, I found myself staring at an old family photo hanging on the wall, a snapshot from happier times when innocence still reigned over our lives. "It's complicated," was all I managed to say before looking away again. He stepped closer, then paused, as if sensing that crossing certain lines would change everything irrevocably. "You don't have to carry this alone." The sincerity in his voice tugged at something deep within me, a longing for connection that had been buried beneath layers of guilt and obligation for far too long. "I know you care," I replied quietly, feeling vulnerable under his gaze. His expression softened momentarily before he spoke again. "You deserve happiness too." Those words echoed within me like a haunting melody, a reminder of everything I had sacrificed for duty and expectation over the years. But at what cost? I whispered more to myself than him as realization struck hard. Happiness often came with consequences we weren't prepared to face. Suddenly aware that we lingered too long in this charged moment together, the air thick with unvoiced feelings, I took a step back, instinctively breaking whatever spell had formed between us. "I need some time alone," I said firmly yet gently before retreating into another room where silence enveloped me like a comforting blanket against chaos outside those walls. Hours later found me sitting on our living room couch staring blankly at an old movie playing on TV, one from our past that used to bring laughter and joy but now felt hollow and distant amidst turmoil swirling around us all like autumn leaves caught in an unforgiving windstorm outside our window. My husband returned home late after work. Exhaustion marked his features as he slumped onto an armchair across from me without acknowledging my presence initially. Lost somewhere within, thoughts swirling through his mind likely filled with doubts about us both rather than focusing solely on whatever happened earlier that day between us three members sharing this house once filled only with love but now tainted by secrets hidden beneath surface layers waiting patiently for exposure eventually. Leading towards inevitable confrontation looming ever closer, each passing moment spent avoiding truth lurking just beyond reach. "Did you have dinner?" He finally broke silence after several minutes passed uneasily between us both, an attempt at normalcy amidst chaos threatening everything we'd built together over time spent side by side through thick and thin alike. "No," came my reply barely above whisper level while feeling weariness settle deeper into bones aching from emotional strain weighing heavily upon shoulders still bearing burdens unseen by others passing through life unaware how fragile connections formed could easily shatter if not tended carefully enough during storms raging fiercely outside. "I'll make something quick then." His tone sounded resigned, almost defeated, yet there remained flicker hope lingering somewhere hidden deep inside each one, yearning desperately keep flame alive despite challenges faced daily, threatening extinguish light, illuminating path forward together. As he shuffled toward kitchen area, rummaging through pots, pans, searching ingredients needed prepare meal quickly before retreating back into silence once more, I couldn't shake feeling unsettled inside, knowing how close we'd come, unraveling completely without ever truly addressing issues lying beneath surface waiting patiently revealed themselves, eventually leading towards consequences none wanted to deal with but everyone knew were inevitable nonetheless. Moments later, while sitting quietly contemplating choices made thus far, suddenly phone buzzed violently against table, startling both out reverie, instantly drawing attention towards device, flashing brightly, screen displaying name belonging someone familiar yet distant now. My heart raced again, realizing who it belonged, prompting dread wash over entire being, knowing full well wouldn't be easy answering call without risking further complications arising unexpectedly, catching off guard entirely. Leaving no room escape once engaged, conversation began unfolding. Taking deep breath, stealing resolve within myself, reached forward, hesitantly grasped phone, lifting it slowly towards ear, prepared face whatever awaited beyond line, connecting two worlds colliding unexpectedly, headlong straight into reality, awaiting patiently. Outside doors previously closed tightly shut, keeping secrets hidden away, safely protected until very moment when truth finally revealed itself, shaking foundations built upon fragile ground, threatening collapse entirely, leaving nothing Behind except echoes, memories fading fast into darkness, forever lost amongst shadows lurking just beyond reach. The phone felt heavy in my hand, a tangible reminder of the storm brewing just outside the walls I had built. I took another deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. The screen illuminated with a name that sparked a mixture of dread and anticipation. This was it, the moment everything could change. "Hello?" I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. The familiar voice on the other end sent shivers down my spine, filled with warmth yet laced with an undercurrent of tension. "Hey, it's me," he said softly. "Can we talk?" I nodded instinctively, though he couldn't see me. "Sure." The conversation flowed easily at first, as if the years apart had melted away in an instant. We talked about mundane things, his job, my recent attempts at gardening, the weather in Portland. But beneath the surface, unspoken words hung heavily between us like a thick fog. Then there was a pause, a silence that stretched longer than comfortable. My mind raced back to the last time we were together, how everything had shifted during those fleeting moments of vulnerability. "We kissed," echoed in my thoughts like a haunting refrain. "I've been thinking about you," he finally said, breaking through my reverie. "About us?" A knot tightened in my stomach as his words sank in. "Us?" "Yes," he replied carefully. "I can't shake this feeling." My heart pounded louder now, drowning out all rational thought. I could feel myself teetering on the edge of something monumental and terrifying. "We shouldn't," the words slipped out before I could catch them. "I know," he interrupted gently but firmly. "But it's hard to pretend nothing happened." As if on cue, the sound of footsteps approached from down the hall, my husband returning home earlier than expected from work. Panic surged through me like ice water coursing through my veins. "I have to go," I whispered urgently into the phone. "Wait. Can we meet?" His voice was desperate yet hopeful. I hesitated for a moment longer than I should have before answering. "Okay, but not here." Just as I hung up, the door swung open with a creak that echoed ominously in our quiet house. My husband entered with his usual nonchalance, completely unaware of the chaos swirling within me. "Hey," he greeted casually, dropping his keys onto the table and heading toward the kitchen for a snack. "Hi," I managed to reply without letting on how rattled I felt inside. As he rummaged through cabinets for something to eat, I forced myself to act normal while every fiber of my being screamed for escape from this suffocating reality. My mind replayed our earlier conversation, the promise of more secrets yet to unfold. A few minutes passed before he turned back towards me with an inquisitive look on his face. "You seem distracted today." "I'm fine," I replied too quickly, hoping it would end there. His gaze narrowed slightly as if trying to read between the lines written across my face. "Are you sure? You've been off lately." I shrugged it off with a wave of my hand and changed the subject, anything to divert his attention from what lingered just beneath our surface conversations. Later that evening, after dinner had come and gone and we settled into our routine once more, watching TV while half listening to each other, I felt an itch at the back of my mind. Something wasn't right. Suddenly, his phone buzzed loudly on the coffee table between us, a sound that shattered whatever fragile peace we had managed to maintain since his return home. He glanced at it briefly before picking it up and furrowing his brow at what appeared on screen. "What's wrong?" I asked cautiously. He didn't respond immediately. Instead, he stared at his phone with growing concern etched across his features. My stomach dropped as dread washed over me again, an instinctual fear that told me whatever was on that screen could unravel everything we'd built together over years spent navigating life's complexities side by side. Finally breaking free from whatever trance held him captive momentarily, he looked up at me sharply. "Who is this?" My heart raced again as panic coursed through me like wildfire igniting dry brushwood, all thoughts of composure vanished in an instant as realization dawned upon him. The truth hidden behind layers of deception now laid bare before us both without warning or mercy. "It's nobody," I stammered helplessly while attempting desperately not to betray any hint of guilt lurking within me, still clinging tightly despite knowing full well how futile those efforts would be against such glaring evidence staring back at him accusingly from that small screen filled with messages meant only for one set of eyes, mine alone, the only person who truly understood their weighty implications, fully grasping consequences lying ahead, waiting patiently just beyond reach. His expression hardened further. Disappointment morphed into anger almost instantly as emotions swirled chaotically within him, battling against betrayal, surfacing uninvited, threatening everything we'd known until now, leaving only uncertainty lingering heavily between us, suffocating hope, slowly fading away into darkness ever so quietly. "Don't lie to me." His voice raised slightly but still contained enough restraint, not entirely lost amidst tumultuous feelings roiling just beneath surface layers barely held together by thin threads fraying dangerously close towards inevitable unraveling point looming ever nearer, threatening collapse entirely, leaving nothing behind except echoes, memories fading fast into darkness, forever lost amongst shadows lurking just beyond reach. In that moment, I knew there was no turning back anymore. Choices made had consequences far beyond anything imagined beforehand, leading straight towards inevitable confrontation awaited patiently outside doors previously closed tightly shut, keeping secrets hidden away, safely protected until very moment when truth finally revealed itself, shaking foundations built upon fragile ground, threatening collapse entirely, leaving nothing behind except echoes, memories fading fast into darkness, forever lost amongst shadows lurking just beyond reach. And so stood there, trembling, slightly unsure what next steps lay ahead, uncertain whether even existed paths leading forward anymore, amidst chaos swirling around us, threatening engulf everything once cherished, leaving only remnants scattered across floorboards cracked underfoot, burdened by weighty revelations now fully exposed, raw wounds aching desperately, needing healing yet finding none available anywhere nearby.